can talk about employer brands in a slightly different way, really, because I think everybody else is probably doing employer branding stuff, and guys at SAS and putting together and articulating employer brand. I've got a bit of a challenge in that I don't really work in the UK, I don't work in Europe, I don't work in America, I work in Asia. And Asia is a very, very, very different place to talk about employer brand. Just to put it in perspective, I kind of look after everything that's run out of our Hong Kong office, so that's Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Macau, Thailand, and all of the Middle East. So I work on a different timescale to everybody else. I've been up since 5 today, so if I go a bit mad at some point, that's why. So what we're looking at the moment is we're trying to articulate our employer brand in quite a challenging market where people don't really understand who we are. So just wanted to give you some kind of headlines from what I've found over the last sort of couple of days here about employer brand and where kind of employer brand sits. And from what I've been told by various agencies, forgive me, didn't discuss it with SAS, but I've been told that less than 20% of companies actually have a clear employer branding strategy. You know, from an industry that is all about talking to employees and articulating who we are and getting people interested and excited about working for us, 20% is rubbish, really. Just need to drive it harder, to be honest. Out of interest, out of everybody that's sitting here, who does think they've got a clear employer brand strategy? And the tongue will lead to
someday.
That's maybe what, maybe 2 hands have gone up there.
But not very sort of tentative hands as well, you know, not the full-on hand that I'm not proud of my employer brand, which is really interesting. You know, nobody's really doing it, so we're not great at it ourselves, but we're recognising the areas where we have to be better at it. So most multinationals don't have an employer brand manager. Anybody here got somebody who's responsible solely for employer brand? Brilliant, fantastic. That's really good to see. Because most companies I talk to don't do it. We had somebody, she got made redundant last year, and now it kind of sits around with various people, and we're trying to work out who owns it. Eventually, hopefully, it comes to me. Yeah. So most companies expect their existing brand to represent them in all markets. Now, we just heard that you've got to closely align your current brand with your employer brand, and to an extent that is true. But when you go to other markets, is it absolutely true that what you sell, say you're Coca-Cola, does Coca-Cola actually have much of an employer brand in China? No, because there's a copycat that looks exactly the same, it tastes exactly the same, and it's a lot cheaper and it's Chinese owned. Therefore, nobody buys Coca-Cola. Not to the level they do in the West, let me caveat that. Not understanding local candidate and consumer behaviour, candidate/consumer. I like to call candidates consumers. They are consumers. I like to think of our recruitment journey as kind of e-commerce journey. People come in, they want to buy something. They want to buy a job. We want them to make that purchase, which is clicking on and stuff like that. Simple process. But if we don't understand what their user journey is, it's a real threat to us. We can't grow in those markets if we can't recruit people. What's the next one? So if we look at North Asia, I want to specifically look at North Asia because it's where I've been working for a while. I was out in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago, specifically looking at some of this. And consumer behaviour is really, really different there. There's very low brand loyalty. You know, if you're a massive brand, we're just talking about this, you know, if you're a brand like Porsche, Ferrari or Rolex, yeah, there's massive brand loyalty. If it's shiny and you're in China, you'll sell it. If it's not shiny and you're in China, you've got a problem, to be honest. And the same goes for employers. You know, if we're not a shiny, massive employer, if we're not Porsche, if we're not Ferrari, if we're not Mercedes, we're not Louis Vuitton, then who wants to work for them? And not many people, unfortunately. If you're the right sort of company, though, that they do want to work for you. By the right sort of company, I mean your ex-Chinese government. So if you've come from a Chinese government background and you've been privatised, as they like to call it out there, it's not really privatisation, it's essentially a Chinese government business. But if you're a Chinese government business, people will want to work for you. So if they come and work for us, and we take them out of Guangxi province, out in the middle of nowhere, and we give them a job, and give them a job in the city, and we train them up, and the Chinese government basically say, would you like to come and work over here? They'll go, oh, because they don't know who we are. We don't really articulate who we are very well. But that's the same with every business. Every Western business who's doing low-end, minimum wage or low-wage employment throughout the whole of China. People in China don't know who you are, and they also want to do the whole made in China, made for China, and sold in China. Same thing goes for it's a job created in China, it's a job for Chinese people, and you're only getting Chinese people to do that job. That's what it goes through quick months. So we struggle for recognition.
Sorry.
I hate standing in my place. Rubbish. So part of the problem here is the perception of ownership as being a corporate thing. You know, it's not necessarily owning a Chinese head office. You don't necessarily have a Chinese management structure, therefore you're not actually thinking very Chinese about the way that you employ people. To an extent that is true. It's changed for us. You know, we've now got a Hong Kong office, our regional office is there. We've got about 60, 70 people working there. To put that into perspective for the Hong Kong office, that looks after about 8,000 people just within Hong Kong. In China, we've got, in PRC that is, we've got about 20,000 people working for us. Taiwan about 5,000, Macau about 4,000, those kind of numbers. For us, that's not a big market yet, but it's a massive growth market for us, and it's something we really, really need to be focusing on. Most of the interesting dynamic work isn't done in China. If you ask Chinese people about what a multinational does in China, they say, oh, you treat it like a factory, you just want to make money out of us, it's a short-term game, you're not really investing in China, and they don't really have that much affinity. So again, trying to combat that and trying to actually say, no, we're here to stay, we're making investment in China, we're making investment in growing our business there, and we're making investment in Chinese people, training people up, is a really important point around the employer brand. We have to articulate who we are as a business. We're a large multinational with a lot of opportunity. We don't understand the working culture. Has anybody here worked out in Hong Kong or China or anything like that? No. The standard working hours everybody's got are 9 to 5. It says in your contract you work 9 to 5. Nobody works 9 to 5. Everybody turns up between about 9:30 and 10:30. They go for 2 hours worth of lunch, and they'll sit in your office until 8, 9 o'clock at night, every day. And mainly because it's not very nice going home. If you go to Hong Kong or Shanghai or Beijing, your house is probably about the size of this square in the middle, and you share it with 4 grandparents, both your parents, and you and your partner. So you don't really want to go home. So everybody eats out, and everybody spends their time in the office. It's a weird market, and we don't necessarily understand what the pressures are at work. So we have to talk about the flexibility, we have to talk about how we allow people to come to work, and we have to talk about giving people a level of responsibility that's their own. But articulating that in China is quite difficult, because what people actually want from an employer out there is very different to what we perceive employees want in the West. We're not the Chinese government. Again, I mentioned that point earlier. Chinese government is the most attractive thing to go and work for a Chinese person. If you're under a certain wage bracket, that's what you know, it's what's looked after most of that society for, God, 50 years? More? I remember when was the Cultural Revolution. But the other thing is we don't know how to talk to them necessarily. So if you want to just go to the next slide. Has anybody ever looked at Chinese job boards before? Yeah. Mad. Yeah. Absolutely mad. So interestingly, 51 Jobs, that's one of the biggest job boards out there, has an English language version of it. And this is the wonderful English language version of 51 Jobs. It's quite simple, ID there, job text there, company, everything else. Yeah, the next slide's doozy. That's the Chinese version of it. That's not even all of it, because actually you can scroll down on that, and I counted the equivalent of 13 pages of flashing images that are just job ads. And it goes on and on and on. If you click into another page, there's more of it. I remember seeing on here, and there was an English bit there, I think there were 5,000 pages of jobs that were available in China. Nuts. And they're all advertised like this. And it's just brand confusion. Articulating who you are within that, really difficult. You'll see the big ones there, the ones that pay for the premium. Honda, not popular in in China. Mercedes, massively popular because, as we were discussing earlier, it's a shiny brand. But you pay a lot of money to be in that first quadrant there. So we, as Western people, looking at how we articulate a brand out there, we can't do it very easily without immersing ourselves in that culture and spending time with people, taking the time to actually understand what it is they want, how they want to recruit, and how we actually work with them to recruit better. So, yeah. Localization of the brand is a little bit difficult. As was just said, you need to get your board bought into what your employer brand is. Our exec, I don't think, are quite aware of what an employer brand is, why it's important, and how that affects the shareholders as far as they're concerned. We have a shareholder brand, investor brand, and that's the important thing, and that's the thing that gets masses of money from comps. We have an employer brand that we articulated in 2010, and we've done some work on since, and we're now trying to force out into these emerging markets. We're not just talking about, this is a framework I'm talking about in China, but let's face it, this applies to a lot of South America as well. It's a very, very similar kind of market in the way that people consume branding, consume marketing, and consume you as an employer. So you've got to get your exec bought in. That's a bit of a tough one if your board aren't really that interested in listening to you in the first place when it comes to employer brand. It's a cost and not necessarily an instant return. We need to get the people on the ground to actually tell us what the brand is. As somebody said to me years and years and years ago, I think it's as true today as it was then. Your employer brand is what people say about you when you've left the room. And that's a really, really nice way of articulating what your employer brand is. But if you don't go and ask those people, you don't get somebody else to ask, usually an agency, because it's a lot easier. You don't really know. You don't know how to start articulating that. So we need to work with the team to actually understand what they believe the employer brand is, what they believe we should be doing to articulate that, because they actually understand what works, they understand how they got the job, they understand how people have got jobs at other companies, and we're not the on-the-ground experts. There are very few, just as well, on the point of agencies, well, very few agencies that actually work in China. I think I found 3, I know more, but
I think there are a few moving on.
There's 3 that are the big ones that I've found, and they've been there established for 5 or 10 years, but it's a market where everybody's talking about. There's a couple of conferences happening, but nothing really seems to be breaking at the moment, because it's a bit of an odd one. Nobody quite knows who to employ to start talking about articulation of brand. We don't expect it to be easy, obviously. It's going to be a really, really difficult point, and something that Dave does talk about a hell of a lot is mobile. Mobile is something that we've been looking at. We have a really, really great mobile version of our website, and we're really proud of it. And then you hand it to a Chinese person and they go, no, because they don't use mobile the same way we use mobile. If you go to Hong Kong, you go to Shanghai, you go to Beijing, you will see everybody has a mobile. They don't have iPhones. Nobody has an iPhone over there. Apple is actually considered a bit of a challenger brand out in China. Amazingly, the Chinese like it because everything's built in China, but they consider it a challenger brand in terms of an employer, because it's not a brand they know. Everybody's got a localized version of whatever mobile phone, but everybody's on mobile. Everybody goes up and clicks on QR codes. Do you remember QR codes? We also they were dead. They're not. They're alive and well and working in China and having a fantastic career out there. So you've got to think about mobile. You've got to think about mobile consumption and how people actually use that and how you articulate a brand for a mobile site. But then you've got to understand what advertising looks like. It's really, really complex, but really interesting. You have to work into how you're going to articulate your brand. Things like the concept of harmony and problem solving and group think and all this sort of stuff. Stuff that we don't ever put on our branding over here. We like to say. It's really nice big power words. In fact, if you go on to the next slide, I took some that I'd seen in adverts recently. Individuality, accountability, empowerment, responsibility and proactivity. All words being used recruiting people in the security industry, my industry. Save your comments for later. But if you look at a similar set of ads for the security industry, and this was actually from Hong Kong, so not broadly representative of the whole of China, but these are the keywords that came out of it. belief, dreams, community, faith, and togetherness. I would never have put those in an advert for security, but those are what comes out. So our understanding is up here, their understanding is there. Right, so how do we do that? And to be honest, this is a little bit of a presentation that's going nowhere. I haven't got any answers. But I will say, have a look at what other multinationals have done. I mean, the likes of Starbucks. Starbucks started as a nothing brand in Hong Kong, didn't go anywhere at all, really struggled. And then they engaged a couple of decent agencies and they started talking to all their employees. Now, Starbucks is, I think, number 13 in most desired brands to work for from universities in China. And they've done that in about 3 years. Fantastic, great one. The other thing that I just wanted to touch on as well is social networking. I've banged on about social networking for years, and I've talked at most of Jamie's events about social networking. And now I'm terrified of social networking because in China, don't get it. It's really mad. It's even madder than the job boards. Really mad. But it's great because everybody's really proactive. And there's some great examples. There was, I forget the name of the company. No, it's really annoying. It will come to me. Anyway, fairly large multinational was running a competition out in China and said, we'd like you to do a little video about what it means to go to work for you. And normally if we do that in the West, how many videos do we expect? A couple, maybe 10 if we're really lucky, and they're grainy and they're horrible, and it's usually somebody not wearing the right uniform and doing something they shouldn't be doing at work. You go to China, and it's going to bug me, I will find out who it was that did this, but this company asked their employees to do it. They got 11,000 submissions, and the average quality of them looked like they'd been filmed on professional cameras. And they all uploaded them to YouTube, and they didn't even tell their employers they'd done it. They just thought the employers were looking. And the net result was, the employer, and again, this is going to annoy me, put up a massive folder full of these fantastic videos that had been produced by their employees, and they had no idea that was what their employees thought of their brand. Because they were thinking of it on a multinational basis, not on a local basis. And there's loads and loads of examples of that. If you look at things like YouTube, YouTube's got so many videos by employees about what it's like to do their job. It's unreal. If you want to understand what your brand is, go and have a look on YouTube if you're in China. If you want to go and have a look at what people are doing every day, everybody sits there on Weibo every day. And it's the equivalent of Twitter, but it's got much more users than Twitter has. Qzone is okay, RenRen's still pretty big, but they're all fundamentally different sites. So the nice thing that I've found from those is that you can kind of push those out to your employees and say, go and take ownership and come and tell us, which is great. So at the moment, we're kind of at this growth process. We're trying to work out how we articulate our brand. We've got some really cool stuff going on at the moment, which I was hoping to bring out today, but I can't just yet because we haven't finalised it. But we're doing some interesting stuff. We're going mobile. We've actually started putting QR codes on all of our ads, which I still think is mad, but it works. We've got some stuff going on YouTube. We've got some stuff going on Weibo as well, because nothing else works. Traditional ad channels don't. You can't use print media. Job boards, they're okay. If you want to go and recruit somebody in a little town in the middle of nowhere, it's got its own job board, its own network of people, and its own social network. And you've got to find a way to break into all of those. So it's a really interesting market. Possibly something that not that many people are doing in the room at the moment, but I thought it was worth sharing kind of where we're at, one of my nightmarish projects. But I hope that was of interest.